not live. We are not showing you our pictures this morning. Hopefully you can hear us. So I want to introduce you to our guests today. I just put out a tweet a few minutes ago with all of their handles. So if you look at Cami Chat and just look at the Twitter stream, you'll be able to see all their different Twitter handles. But on my left here is Leah Cast. She works with the island of Galveston, or how do you like to say it? Galveston Island?
The Galveston Island Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Yeah, so with the Galveston Island Convention and Visitors Bureau. And she has some interesting things to talk to us about, being basically a one-person social media team in some ways, but how she does that. Next to her is Ryan, and he is from the zoo. And did you bring Google Glass?
Yeah.
He brought Google Glass, so that makes him very famous for me. And then next to him is Carl Foy, and he's with Traders Village, which is, how many have been to Traders Village and know what it is? Okay, so for the rest of you, it's basically a flea market, but a really big one.
Yeah.
And they have them in several states, or several cities here in the state, San Antonio, Dallas, and here, and are very, very interesting kind of way of using social media for them. So we're going to start out with that, and I'm going to start out right away with Leah, because there's some interesting things that you do at Galveston Island, and I guess I want to really start with the idea of, how do you manage your team, or how do you use the resources you have?
Well, at the CVB, we have a 4-person marketing team in a way, but 2 of those people are PR, one's marketing and one's social media, or one special event. So we don't have one single person dedicated to social media. So we kind of have to split up the responsibilities. I'm kind of the one responsible for the strategy behind it, and then we use our partners, we use our visitor center staff, we use anyone we can to kind of maximize our resources. So one thing that we do is we notice that we have our staff at our visitor center who are they're answering questions for people who come in every day anyway, so why can't they answer the questions we get on Facebook or the questions we get on Twitter? So I use them specifically kind of as that customer service tool to answer questions and to provide travel advice, while our team kind of splits up the responsibilities for posting content and doing more of the proactive approach.
Yeah, so how do you kind of train them? How do they know what to do?
Right. So we go through a whole process. All of the people who deal with our social media are certified tourism ambassadors. They go through an extensive training, and then we provide them with frequently asked questions, outlines for kind of the basic responses. Of course, they know to customize them to each person, and if it's something in like a crisis situation, then of course they pass it back over to us. But we kind of give them the template and then let them know, for the basic things, it doesn't make sense for me when I'm dealing with a TV crew or something to stop and tell somebody something that is simple as, where the visitor center is downtown or where the restroom is downtown. So we kind of use them for those type of resources. Another really popular thing we do is we hire a photographer, and he goes out every single morning for sunrise and sunset photos, and those have been the most popular things on our page. We post them every single day, and that's, again, some content that I don't directly have to be doing that is really popular with our followers.
That's great. So staying on the theme of a resource, I want to start right away letting you guys understand that while these are big attractions, it's not necessarily that they have all these amazing resources necessarily. Ryan, kind of explain how your team works.
Sure. My team is the interactive marketing department, and so we have a videographer, a photographer, myself, and a web-only person. And I handle all of our social media, and then pretty much our content creators are the videographer, photographer, and myself. So we pretty much have a hand in everything that comes online, and then we kind of outsource it to our web person to get the information up. Our marketing department will feed us different information based on events that we have, and so we kind of operate everywhere, and we are walking around all the time, almost never at our desk, trying to find out what's happening around the zoo. And we have a lot of weird things that'll happen, in the morning. Maybe a water pipe breaks in an exhibit, so we have to shut it down. So that creates a whole other problem. So now we have to start updating information about exhibits are closed and who does that and when and how long are we going to have that up. Should we tell the public it's closed because they might walk by and never see it? So it's really interesting how a really small team has to come together to learn all this stuff about the zoo. So when I started, I had to learn not only the different rules of the zoo, what ticket prices are, all that kind of operating information. I also had to learn species names of these animals and also what the public calls them. So it was really interesting to find out kind of all this extra information I had to learn before I could even start to have the first response for any questions.
Yeah. So is it safe to say that you are the @HoustonZoo
Yes.
Twitter account?
That's me. Yes.
Okay.
All the social media is me. Yes.
All right. So yeah, if you're talking to the Houston Zoo, you're talking to Ryan. So now you know what he looks like. All right, Carl. What are you doing right now for social media? Talk about your team.
Right. My team, everybody from my team is actually here right now. Would you raise your hands? Yeah, that's me. And I manage it all. So if you're talking to Traders Village at all, no matter what city you're in Dallas, Houston, or San Antonio, you're talking to me. And I have a challenge in that not only don't I have a team, but I have a company that 99% of them really doesn't even know what Twitter is, much less buying into social media is even a viable part of anything that this company should be doing, for various reasons. So I mean that's pretty much it. But again, if you're talking to Traders Village online, that's me.
Yeah. So these three, and I'm assuming for Galveston Island, you're doing the same. Who's running the Twitter?
Yeah, it's between me and our PR coordinator, Yvette.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So there you are. So now you know who they are, so it's good. So the next question I have along that line is with these kind of obviously busy schedules and everything that you're doing, can you guys just talk about one campaign or one thing that you're doing right now that you think is super interesting in this area? Like how are you leveraging some other things in order to have success on social media? Yeah.
Okay.
Because you got a great one.
Yeah. So one of the very popular campaigns we started last year that just kind of came from a random idea, and I didn't think it was going to be that successful. We have a campaign called Love Galveston, #LoveGalveston, so use it. But what we did is, we started to think, Houston is one of our biggest markets. How do we engage with them a little more other than just pushing our message? How do we get them to be involved in our brand? And so we found key Houston influencers. Some are chefs, some are cooks. Just recently we partnered with Elaine Turner, who's a fashion designer, and we got them to be our advocates. I kind of did some research and found out who loves Galveston all on their own. And when I found that, I invited them to come to the island. We shot these really neat videos of them showing us everything they love about Galveston. And then we blasted those in our e-blast. We used them on our YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, just to get someone else's perspective of Galveston and to show people the diversity of the island. I think sometimes our perception challenge is people don't know everything there is to do in Galveston, or they think just of the beach and they don't know about the arts, the history, the attractions. And so this was a great way to engage with people, let our message across, and have someone who our followers saw as cool or exciting do it. I'll just say one really cool thing was I have learned from someone, I can't remember who, that Elaine Turner had a bag this year, a tote, named The Strand, named after Galveston Strand, and it's a little beach tote. So we got her to come down and do the video and talk about how the island inspired her design. It's something that's not tourism related, but it connected with us, and we thought people would find it interesting. And that's been really successful. We worked with them on a contest giveaway with the bag and a giveaway to Galveston, and it's really just kind of snowballed into something we never thought, just from thinking outside of the box and looking at people outside of our industry and how we can get them involved and engaged with Galveston.
And that's the Love Galveston hashtag. So it's #LoveGalveston. Is there anything ongoing with that right now? I mean, how can people here get involved with that campaign?
Right. So anytime you're in Galveston, you're posting pictures, we always encourage people to use the #LoveGalveston. When you do, your photos are automatically uploaded to the Galveston.com site. So you can kind of see everyone who's in Galveston doing something. And then, of course, we have the videos running right now. So it's just kind of this thing that we wanted to be grassroots to get people to start thinking about what they love about Galveston and encourage them to share it.
Great. So do you want to talk about some stuff you're doing there, Brian?
Sure. Probably the most interesting that I've been a part of since I've been at the zoo, and it happened every year, hopefully. It's our Zoo Lights. 2 years ago, we started Zoo Lights, and it was supposed to be, we had this great idea that we wanted to do a huge Christmas light attraction right in the middle of Houston, right at the zoo after hours. And it was an awesome idea that started, and it's a great event, but it was so hard to launch. because when we were starting putting lights up in October when that started. Zoo lights ran every night almost from Thanksgiving through the first week in January, and I was responsible for creating our social media campaign, our online content, and then with our videographer we had to create TV spots. So you can imagine it's tough when you're trying to talk about an event that's never happened, you have no assets for, and you're trying to convince people to come out almost every night for 2 months. It was really tough to do. So to do that, we kind of researched other zoos and attractions that had these sort of lights during Christmas lights, big attractions that this isn't their primary campaign or goal. And we kind of just took a few cues from them. This works here, this works here. We thought ticket giveaways would be a good idea, but that didn't really work out for us. And it was just because people didn't know. It's like accepting tickets for a concert for a band you've never heard. Why would you go if you have no interest? So it was really on us to create these digital images. We relied a lot on up-close pictures of Christmas trees that kind of blurred out the back with the bokeh, so you could tell that it was Christmas lighty, but didn't really have a lot of stuff. We focused on animals, but it was really difficult to do that, and I'm really proud of where we are now. And so now that we have those assets to use in the future, we only expect it to get bigger and a lot easier to talk to people about it.
Yeah. And so why don't you talk a little bit about how you're thinking about using ambassadors?
Yeah. Well, of 2.5 years ago, we didn't have a social media presence. We had a Facebook page, and the person that was managing it went on a maternity leave and never came back. So I somehow inherited it, and that's fine. One of the things that being that I have no real support from the team as far as our paid employees go, one of the things that came in mind, and as I got to know a lot of our vendors in the market, in Houston we have basically 1,500 business owners and stores, and I said 1,500. That's quite a lot. San Antonio has 1,000, and Grand Prairie, Dallas-Fort Worth, has about 3,500 vendors, small business owners, that all have a stake in the success of our business. And as I got to know a good portion of those, and I do know many of them by name, you start realizing, okay, this person has a daughter that has a big following on Twitter. This person here is very affluent in using Google Plus and loves talking about Traders Village and all the great things that we are. And I started piecing all those people together, and I'm working on kind of an ambassador program with those people, and basically letting them do the initial responses, but not as Traders Village, as themselves. So, and basically they would introduce themselves and say, and I'm Carl, and I'm a vendor here, and I saw your post, and this is what this is how we fix that. They're fixing the customer complaint, or they're passing information along about a concert that we're doing, or a new food item, or a new amusement ride that we have. So actually giving them kind of the keys to the market, social media-wise, and letting them respond. And obviously, if I need to step in, I don't go as Traders Village and reply. Basically, what would happen is I would email them or call them and say, I saw your post, and we need to fix it so-and-so. So actually letting them do the response, as opposed to Traders Village being the initial, being the go-to responder for everything. And I think it's going to give more of a personal touch.
Yeah. So and you're starting that this year, right? So,
yeah, we'll have it out by the end of the summer.
Yeah. So I think that's really interesting. Like when you feel like you have no resources to look around you for what's around you for resources, I think there's a lot that all of us can learn from that, right? Who in our organizations can we tap, or who is following us can we tap to do that? I also want to answer how many here do more B2B kind of stuff in your work? Yeah, a couple. So one of the things that Leah and I talked about as well is that there's different audiences, and you just hit on it a bit too, Carl, is that you're dealing with small business owners that are actually members of your thing, as well as the general public that come to buy the stuff. And for Galveston, you have some similar things. Could you talk about your B2B audience a little bit?
Right. So of course we have a huge leisure travel audience, but we're also a CVB, so we work to book conventions and meetings in business that way. So we kind of have different audiences for those things because they're interested more in meeting space and things for their attendees. And so some of the things that we try to do to engage them is really focus on the on-site experience when we're working with them, or the way that we promote them to come see Galveston is a little bit different. One thing that we do, like if someone is booked in Galveston, we have special things set up for them. One thing that we're starting this year is we are implementing photo frames, large, huge photo frames at our convention center, and it has the hashtag Love Galveston on that, so people are encouraged to take photos, use their hashtag as well as the hashtag for their specific group or meeting, and it's just kind of creating a different connection with them per se. We also work, differently when we get questions on the convention and visitors bureau side to answer them differently through Twitter, and we just take a very different approach when it comes to working with businesses that are looking at us as a business destination versus a general traveler who just wants to come visit Galveston.
And you were talking about how you're using social media to connect with your businesses. Is that how you know them? Mostly through social media, or do you know them like by walking around?
Well, that's how they know me. I walk around and they'll say, "Oh, we saw this picture of whatever," or that's how they know me. So I guess that's the conversation starter. But the way that my clientele, I mean, it's a flea market, so they're used to being face to face and real life interactions, and social media is kind of an afterthought for them. So it's kind of an education process for them too, realizing that their business being on Facebook, Twitter is helping my business, because when somebody comes and visits them, they're also coming and visiting us.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I also want, since we're kind of talking about social media and the platforms, I do want to talk a little bit about Facebook, because Facebook is such a difficult nut to crack right now, and everybody's losing all of their their reach in Facebook without paying to play. Could you talk a little bit about how you're approaching Facebook right now, and have you seen this drop off? And if you have, how are you counteracting it, if at all, or kind of give us your take on that.
Well, we've kind of taken a different approach to Facebook pretty much from the beginning. We don't run contests just to grab a bunch of followers and then say we have 80,000 followers on our page. We've always looked at engagement as our #1 measurement. So we don't necessarily care how many followers we have. We care if they're looking at our page, they're liking our page, they're engaging with us, they're commenting with us. So for us, we haven't seen the big drop off in that sense because we never looked at it in that way. It's just blasting our messages out there. One thing that we try to do to kind of stick out, though, on Facebook is really look at social media in general as a way to be a resource to people. We don't look at it as a way just to put our marketing messages across. And I think we had to learn that. In the beginning, we were kind of doing everything we thought we should do, and then we realized, honestly, our people just want to see our daily island images. They want to see the beach and the sunrise every morning, the weather. They want to know what events are going on, and so we stick to that. And we really found that out because one day our photographer decided not to post photos and didn't tell us he was going to be out of town, and we just got comments all day. Where are the photos? I look for them every single morning. And so just really paying attention to your audience, knowing what they want, and then being that resource to them is how you stay relevant, I think, because, if I don't want to see your stuff in my feed, I'm going to block you anyway. So it's kind of like really trying to find out what people want from you as a brand.
Excellent advice. And Ryan?
Yeah, I would say the exact same answer. We're not so concerned, what Facebook is doing, because regardless of what platform we use, someone's going to make changes that probably we don't agree with. So we really focus on the content that we're delivering, focusing on our audience and who wants that content. Our audience is mainly women 25 to 34, and when I started, that was a little difficult for me to talk to because that is not my demographic. So it was kind of exploring, and as I get more into it, each page has a voice, and so our voice is we like to be engaging, we like to be educational, and we like to have kind of like a humor, scientific side. So we want to be a page for all, And that's kind of how we address our content. So everything we put up, we want to make sure that it's not offensive to anybody. It can be fun. It can be scientific, educational. And through that, we can create videos about our animals. We're so lucky because we have just loads of content. I can walk down any one of the paths in the zoo and find something that somebody wants to see, either a picture, a video, or just talking about it. And so since we have that content-rich atmosphere, we don't have to be so worried about that. Like I said, we're lucky. I know there's some businesses out there that don't have as content-rich stuff as we do.
We'll talk to you next.
So, like I said, it's all about finding out who our audience is, what they want, when, and then making sure that we can deliver that to them, basically when they want it.
You also told me something kind of interesting on the call, which is not shocking, and that's the baby animal effect. Could you talk about that a little bit?
So, does anyone know about the clouded leopards that were born at the zoo? Yes, you're ready? Okay. Baby animals are our #1 post that we can put up, and we will get the biggest response out of any post ever. And it sounds like this only applies to us, the zoo, but I would encourage you guys to find something that works for your page. Find your baby animal post and protect it. If we posted baby animals every day of the week for 2 weeks, it would be awesome. Around that 3rd week, people would get bored and would drop off like crazy. So what we do is we kind of spread them out. When we have them, luckily nature spreads them out for us. But when we have them, we'll put them up, and we make sure that that's going to be our main content for the day, for the week, whatever it is. We put it up and we let it run. And so, like I said, I would encourage you guys to find what works for you, and then protect it, hold it really close. Don't put it out every day like you'll be tempted to get responses. It'll really work out for your strategy, and you'll be able to kind of seed your posts and keep a high level of activity in your pages.
Absolutely. So find your baby animal. I love that. I wonder what the baby animal is for your business. It's really great. That's a really great analogy. So what is your baby animal, Carl?
Very early on, I figured out a couple of things, and we didn't really know as a company, and my company had been in business for 37 years. We didn't know who our customer was. So we needed to find out that person immediately. And that has nothing to do with social media, where it has everything to do with social media, but it also has to do with all of our traditional advertising. We were just putting outdoor billboards and buying TV and radio and just throwing money at it, and it wasn't working. And we're going, oh, that's not working. What do we do? Well, let's throw more money at it. And it really, and so we needed to step back 3 years ago and really evaluate where we were as a company. When I took over the social media stuff, my agency said, well, all we are is tires and tube socks. You're asking everybody to take pictures with their phones because you wanted it to feel more personal. But all we I got tons of pictures of tires, tube socks, garbage cans, and I'm like, no, this isn't going to work. I mean, how many pictures of tires are not my baby animal? So I said, what we need to do is we need to personify this. And so I said, let's not include vendor pictures at all. Or if we do, let's have pictures with people in it. And, and as the survey numbers started coming in, we realized that we had people visiting. And we figured out who our target was. And our target is mom, late 20s and up, 2 kids, and we figured out all this stuff, and it's very typical attraction theme park numbers is what we were getting. So we took those numbers, and people wanted to see. Mom wants to see pictures of things to do with her kids, and at $3, the price of our admission, and that's $3 per carload. You really can't have a better deal in town. They can come out and shop. They can come out and ride our amusement park. They can come out and have theme park style food for $3. Plus, then they have to pay for the food and stuff. So as we personified it, our reactions became better. And we tried everything from contests and all that. And then when we built the amusement parks in there, and we took pictures of the kids having fun. So now we're building a broader range spectrum. If it's something for everybody, you can shop. Dad can come out and listen to music and have a beer, and the kids can go to the amusement park and have fun for a very inexpensive amount of money. And that's what we do.
Save yourself into the poorhouse, right?
That's right.
Yeah, good. So so that's a really challenge. I mean, I would say, because you've got a lot of people out there. How do you handle the rights to pictures? Do you?
Um,
That's sort of a throw it in there.
yeah, I mean, with rights, I mean, when we take pictures of people, usually we ask, and I mean, I have releases and that kind of stuff that we do. Most people are very excited. Oh, my picture's going to be on Facebook, and particularly if you come out with a nice camera. Somebody said to me in an agency a long time ago, people like standing in front of professional cameras for whatever reason. So if you go out and take a nice picture, but even with your iPhone, when you go out and you say, you know, I'm with Traders Village and we're looking for pictures for our Facebook page, would you mind? And you just sign this letter real quick, and then we take a picture, and they like it, and in fact they share it, and it increases our engagement a whole lot. So
that's great.
Yeah.
So kind of moving back to, I kind of want to come back to you, Ryan, about the Google Glass stuff. I do want to talk about Google Glass a little bit because new technologies and emerging technologies are kind of interesting in how you use them. Could you tell us how you came into possession, besides $1,500 of Google Glass, and sort of what you're using it for and how useful it is for your business?
Sure. Google hosted a contest called If I Had Glass, and it was their first contest that they were actually giving them away. And all you had to do is you could tweet them up to 2 times, telling them what you would do, if you had glass. And they made it very public that it was going to be an individual-based contest. There were not going to be any businesses that got them, but it was too cool of a thing not to do. I just entered it on a whim. I think I said something like, we'd love to show what it's like to release sea turtles on the beach. And we were selected, one of the 8,000. Got to go to Google and do a tour of the facility, which is awesome. Had private training on Google Glass. And so they do cost $1,500. I will absolutely tell you they are not free. And they're made for a social tool. They're made for individuals to connect on their social accounts, get text messages, make calls, check in on Twitter. They're developing a lot more apps that you're going to be able to expand all this with. But the cool part is the camera. And that's really what we're using it for. We use it primarily to record video. I can put them on a keeper, and a keeper can go in and do all their stuff like normal. I'll take them off later, rip the video off, and just kind of edit it into a full video. We don't really use it for the social aspect of it, and it's tough for us to do because like I'm sure a lot of your businesses, there's just some stuff that you don't want to post immediately because something could go wrong. At the zoo, we have to be really careful about everything. A keeper that doesn't wear glasses and goes in with an animal, if they suddenly have glasses on, that changes kind of the atmosphere and might change the reaction of that animal who's trained to certain behaviors. So it's really been helpful for us because we have a lot of guests and a lot of the public want to see what it's like behind the scenes, and we can't take them back there. So we'll have, instead of going to school for 10 years and getting another 10 years of experience, we just put Google Glass on a keeper, and she goes in with our venomous snakes and does her thing, pulls them out, and we can show that to everybody. So for us, it's an amazing way to show first-person experiences of what it's like to be a zookeeper.
Who would like to go in with the venomous snakes? Not me. So yeah, I mean that's a really great use of them. And you were telling me that the Google Hangouts on Air don't really work with them right now.
Right. So yeah. So I don't know if we put out a video. We partnered with Children's Memorial Hermann, and I actually got to walk around with some patients over there. That was amazing. And they were in their beds, and Children's Memorial has a pair of Google Glass. And I took ours out, and we did a private hangout. So I just walked around the zoo, showed them a bunch of stuff. We did giraffe feeding, meerkats. It was awesome. Excuse me. And so Google has since they're now going to release it to the public, they've removed the video call feature. And it was laggy a little bit and had its problems. We always had problems connecting the first time. So I think right now they're just going to fix it. I don't know what that means, until they can get a little better latency. So I would imagine, if Google Glass is something you might be interested in getting, I would really wait to see if they bring that call back, because that will be one of the main things that you'll want to use with them, is video calls.
It's nice that thought of being able to do that video call and show in real time what's going on. It's kind of a really interesting aspect of it.
Also, one more thing. If you are interested in getting, I have them here. I'm happy to show you. I don't have anything loaded on it. It's just, is there Wi-Fi here?
Yeah.
Okay, we can get on Wi-Fi and search, but the battery life on them is very poor. Recording video, you'll get maybe 30 minutes. They're made to sit on your head all day and not do anything. So
the people that are worried about them going and live streaming their whole life, it's not happening.
It's not going to live stream your whole life. If you're checking in just every now and then, you're fine.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So one of the things I wanted to ask all of you is, how do you judge your success, especially on the social media side, What you already talked about engagement. What are you using to kind of gauge your success? Do you have tools you're using? Kind of talk a little bit about that.
Well, right. So we already kind of talked about engagement. We really look at, of course, the general Facebook analytics and Twitter analytics and seeing who's retweeting us and those type of things, and really looking at the engagement piece. We just started as a management tool. We just started using Radian6, but before that, we just kind of look at Hootsuite and, really inexpensive, cheap tools to kind of measure and pull reports on what we're doing. Another thing we look at is our website. So pretty much all the content we create is meant to drive people from whether Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is, to galveston.com. And from there, we can really measure whether it's working. Facebook is the number 5 source for referrals to our website. So that's after Google, and it's pretty good. And so we look at that as a tool to look at measurement. Unfortunately, when they get to this website, I can't see whether social media converted into a hotel booking, which would be nice, but we know that it's at least drawing people's interest enough to push them to more information and more resources.
Yeah. And there's some things I could teach you about that.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead.
So to our sponsors, we have sponsors for different events, and to the supervisors at the zoo that are interested, analytics, number analytics are usually what they want. But for me, who's doing the talking to our community, I'm mostly qualitative based. I'm more concerned with what we're saying, along just as important is what they're saying about us. So if someone asks us a question, if I can answer it quick, I'm going to answer it. And so as long as I can develop kind of a dialogue with our audience, regardless of how small the question or how many times it's been answered, I can't tell you how many times I've answered the question, what are your hours, how much does it cost? But it's important to do that because, this is a mom who may have not, or a mom or dad or somebody who may have not looked at our page ever. They're just coming for that information. And so to not provide that and just assume that they're going to go find it on their own is poor customer service, in my opinion. And so the success of our page is how I address our community. That's kind of how I react. So if numbers are great, likes are awesome, but it's mainly keeping those people coming back to our page. And if someone comes for a question and asks it, they know that they can come back and we're there to answer the question. We can provide whatever they need. And also it's a great place to just have content. Like, hey, I found this video. I'm going to show it to my kids as soon as they get out of school. So you may, on our page, I posted, I think, like a 45-second octopus video. And, it took me all of 10 minutes to produce, but it's great just to put out there for content that's easy.
Mm-hmm. That's great. How do you judge your success, Carl?
Well, how the owners judge success is by the attendance in the market and by vendor turnout. So, it's a combination of both. I mean, we could have a really outstanding insights, and we could have a very high number on social media. But if the attendance is low, they go, well, social media is not working. So, I have to constantly tap dance the line. I do realize that there is a huge customer service, so I definitely understand that. And so success there is, when somebody walks away, you kind of have to break it down on an individual by individual basis versus a bulk thing. We're at the point now with our insights, and we don't subscribe to any fancy service or anything like that. I mean, we use Hootsuite as well. We're at the point now where we can say 2 weeks out, we know this event is going to be big. We know our attendance is going to be high on such and such weekend because people are talking about it. So and we're right more times than we're wrong now. So I mean, it's just kind of a combination of all of that.
Yeah.
I had one tool I wanted to add too.
Yeah, you're just right.
Yeah, this is a new tool that we're actually using. The technology is actually patent pending, and it's more on the digital media side than it is social media, but it incorporates social media, so I kind of wanted to share it. It's called Arrivalist, and for us, it basically shows us once someone's been exposed to a Galveston ad, whether that's on Facebook or somewhere online, it then shows us when one of their devices comes into Galveston. So now we can see if our ads are turning into people coming and how long that takes. And social media is a part of it because when you're logged in on social media, you think about it. If you're on your Facebook page, on your phone, on your iPad, and on your computer, and you see any of our ads at some point, when that app is still logged into Facebook and drives over the causeway to Galveston, the technology allows us to see that. So that's something new that we just started using a few months ago, so we're really excited to see kind of what that shows us as well.
Ooh, creepy.
Yeah, it's a little creepy, but it's really interesting for us.
Yeah, it is interesting. I actually have it right here, and I'm going to tweet it out here so you guys can get it, the name of it, everything. Also, another one that you haven't mentioned that I think is important and kind of interesting and really kind of almost freemium. There's a free version of it, and then a more paid version is called True Social Metrics. Is anybody using True Social Metrics in here yet? Okay, so my goal is to convert all of Houston into True Social Metrics, and they're not a client. It's because you can actually look at all of your social channels and see kind of how they're performing in engagement. There's an engagement score that goes with it, and also you can look at your competitors against you, and you don't have to have their logins to see. So you can do like a benchmarking with it. So True Social Metrics is another one that I'd recommend on the engagement side. So just kind of talking about that, do you guys have anything coming up that you're going to be doing soon? Or I know you have some things that you already talked about, but the others of you that you want to let this crowd know about so they can be watching for it?
I'll go first. For us, it's got another year, but our Gorillas campaign is going to be really huge right now. We've been under construction for a while now, maybe even 2 years of our afterforce. So when we finally have that finished next year, early 2015, we're going to have a huge push for that. It will be a really big deal. And so that's going to be another one that we're going to have to rely on other zoos and other organizations for digital assets, because we haven't had gorillas at the zoo in a really long time. We haven't had them in this new exhibit at all. And it's going to be, animals will sell themselves sort of thing, but it's up to us to keep people coming back and keep them interested in it. And it's not just a one-time and forget all about it. And I don't want someone to just come to the zoo and look at them and say, oh, yeah, that's a gorilla, great, and walk away. We want them to learn something about it. And, that falls on us here to do that through social media.
Great.
For us, I kind of mentioned it a little bit before, but what we're starting to focus on going into this summer is developing more on-site tools for generating social media. We find that our photos and stuff have been a great tool to get people to the island, but we want them to stay engaged while they're there. And so I mentioned that we're installing several huge photo frame signs with our Love Galveston hashtag. So we'll have one next to the pleasure pier, so you can stand behind it and take a photo with the pleasure pier behind you. And it seems like something simple, it's just a big photo frame, but we've tried our test ones out and people love it, and they're using it on Instagram. And then of course there's instructions on the frame that tell you that it'll be on our website. And so it's just focusing more on that on-site media and really kind of creating engagement once people are actually engaging with our product.
That's great. So yeah, that'll be really interesting to see, and they're going to use that Love Galveston hashtag, so we can watch that and see kind of how that tracks.
I mean, we're going to right now. Our big push as a company right now is our expansion in San Antonio, and we just went from 50 acres to 100 acres in San Antonio. So we're and every market and every city has just opened up an amusement ride within the last 2 years. Amusement park we have in Houston, we have 11 rides. We'll be opening up our 12th ride probably in the fall, and we're also opening up a subway. So we'll be pushing all that stuff in social. I think we're going to continue, and we've kind of made the decision that we're going to continue with the person and bringing a personal touch to it, and that's the point of the ambassadors program. And of course, lots of pictures of tube socks and tires.
That's awesome. So I'd like to open it up for questions now, if you guys have any for them about, just sort of their approaches, or maybe you have something that you're wondering how, you can kind of approach it, and we can act as a sort of an impromptu marketing panel for you. Yeah?
I have a question regarding your popular sunrise pictures. So everybody loves them, but they're probably not real socially engaging unless you're posting. You'll never believe what happened in this sunset, that kind of stuff.
Wait, what happens next? The sun went up.
Actually, the photographer we use is actually really great about, and he has like a better voice than I can even come up with, of telling a story with every single post. So he doesn't just post a photo. It'll be like him and his cat, and whatever they were doing this morning, or what he saw. If there was something kind of quirky, he takes a picture and explains what he saw. So he tells a story throughout every post, so it's not just the same sunrise every morning. It's what actually happened on the beach, and he has a good way of telling that, and so that's how we try to create engagement. And for us, it's not only the most likes, they get the most comments, and they get the most shares. So,
and kind of piggybacking on what you said, I just saw an article, and I'll dig it up and try to tweet it a little bit later, but a couple of weeks ago where they did a study with Instagram photos. And so advertisers were taking Instagram photos and getting rid of like the really slick model photos, putting an Instagram photo in, and they were actually performing like way better than just regular slick photos. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing that we could learn from that, but maybe it's a similar thing for you.
Yeah, I think it's the conversation piece that is more because they're really obsessed with who the photographer is. They always want to know about him. The most popular photo by far was the photo of his cat at his computer when he was uploading the images for that day. I don't know. So I think it's just people are connected to him and kind of the story he tells through his photos.
The animals.
Yeah,
The animals. It's true. Questions? Yes.
Yeah, I'm interested in what you guys see as emerging behavior patterns of users. So, over time, with any technology, users get more sophisticated, they get more acclimated to technology. So, what do you see, as you're seeing people engage? What do you see people doing that they maybe weren't doing a year ago?
Are you asking kind of like what the expectations are that they're seeing from people that come to the pages? Like what do they expect from them?
No.
Or asking?
Yeah, but possibly, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. But I mean, just what's user behavior? What do you think they're going to be doing in a year from now that they're not doing today?
User behavior a year from now, doing that for the Google Hangouts.
Well, I would say that as technology continues to grow, and I mean, Facebook isn't going to go anywhere for a while. As a user point of view, maybe from a business standpoint, it's changing a whole lot, and will probably continue to change. I think people are going to need reasons to become engaged with your business. I think that, we don't all have pictures of clouded leopards to put on there. So, they're going to need reasons to interact with you. I mean, because, and I guess it goes, what I'm saying is that people aren't really dedicated to a brand like they used to be. There used to be a bunch of people in the world that were, no matter what happened, they were going to drive a Chevy truck. And I think that that mentality is changing. So if you want to be, if you want, I mean, you can create a Facebook page or social media presence, but and you could have the greatest product in the world and the most wonderful business store, whatever it is, but there's probably more people that do what you do, and you're going to have to give them reasons to engage with your business.
I was just going to say, I think there's two things to consider. One is the fact that Facebook and things like that are getting so crowded to the point where you really have to stand out. You really have to, again, I agree, provide something that they're looking for. Another thing is they want constant communication. And that's something that's different from before. We used to just see likes and maybe a few comments. Now they want you to comment back. They're angry if you don't comment back right away. They really want you to be this constant form or person that they can communicate with. So that's something different that we've noticed just within the last year, and that's why we went ahead and said, okay, visitor center, you guys have to respond to these people immediately because I can't keep up with them as one person, but they're expecting me to. And so that's something that I've seen.
Over the past year, definitely, we've seen a huge drop-off in our development posts. And so, we have certain things where we'll do fundraisers. One of them is, right now we have Name a Toad for Father's Day. So we have Houston toads, which are critically endangered. For a certain amount of money, you can name one, you get a certificate. It's sort of a gift thing. It's a fundraiser for us, and I think the reason for that is we see so many more ads in our own personal feeds now. And so if you have a post that looks like an ad, it's not going to do well. And it's just on us to be creative enough to figure out how to present that information. Those campaigns need to happen. So we have to be come up with a different way to put that information out, get people interested in that. And I was just sitting in a meeting that we were going to have to figure out how to address these sort of name and animal campaigns a little bit differently because of this sort of this occurrence.
I was going to say for the toad, you could do have somebody famous kiss the toad if you get up to a certain number on the fundraising or something fun like that.
One thing I was going to add too is I think it's really important to consider each medium differently. You know, I think in the beginning when Pinterest became really popular, everyone just wanted to start posting stuff to Pinterest. And it's like, you know, when I go on Pinterest, I know I'm using it for a very different purpose than I'm using Facebook or that I'm using Twitter. So really honing in on why are people on this channel, what do they want from it, and specifically targeting toward that. For us on Pinterest, we don't do a lot of posting, except we do it for our island weddings. So whenever there's a beach wedding or something, we'll post ideas because that's what they want. Or we'll post recipes. I have a huge collection. The last 2 years, we've collected of culinary photos. So I'll post our culinary photos from our restaurants and our recipes, something very different than, you know, our uses for Facebook and Twitter. And so it's just really kind of targeting what people are on each medium for, rather than looking at this big thing as just a big social media bubble that serves the same purpose.
And to kind of add to that too, if you look at the old telemarketers and spam email, I mean, nobody likes getting that stuff. So as business owners or social media managers or whatever you may be in this room, try to detach yourself from that and look at Facebook and Twitter as, you know, I'm just a normal user of Facebook. And do you really want to pull up your wall and go, okay, advertisement, commercial, advertisement, you know, and that's not why you're there. That's not why you signed up for all of that. So you have to, you kind of have to approach that when you're creating that message from your business. You know, you have to approach it that way. Is they might not want to see my ad.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder too, do people come to the Facebook site? I mean, when I go to a Facebook page generally of a company, it's because I'm about to either buy the product, or I'm thinking about buying the product, or because I'm interested in finding out information, right, about that thing. So do you see that that's true? A lot of people are coming and asking those questions?
Yeah, I mean, you know, from my experience, and it's so, it's kind of polarizing. You have people like your page because they absolutely love you and they're a mega fan, or people like your page because they're just doing research and it doesn't cost anything to like, and that might be something that they want to do in the future, but they've never been and maybe they're not a fan. And then there's that percentage of people that like your page because they absolutely hate you. And it's funny because the middle portion, the people that really don't have a strong opinion either way about whatever your business are, they look your picture, they might like your picture, they might share your picture. It's all might stuff. It just depends on whether or not they see it. But the ones that are the most engaging, the ones that talk the most, are the ones on the end. The ones that are your mega fans and the ones that absolutely hate you. No matter what picture you post, no matter what you do, they may go and say, well, yeah, but they support puppy mills, or they, as another attraction, SeaWorld is doing a big anti-thing for something called Blackfish, and there's. Well, I'm sorry.
This is my client.
Yeah, but you know, it's there. People want to hate you sometimes as much as they want to like you.
It's true. Speaking of which, we had talked a little bit about crisis communication. Yeah. This brings us to the crisis communication talk, and
nice segue.
Well, that's a lot of this. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I call them Galveston haters. But now for us, social media really, the way we really got our kind of leadership on board with social media really started with Hurricane Ike. You know, after the hurricane, we were in this very vulnerable position where we had mass media from New York and everything showing Bolivar Peninsula and calling it Galveston. And it was like, actually, the seawall protected us really well, and, you know, a year later we were back. And so we really relied on Twitter and social media to kind of get rid of the mass media for once and let people see Galveston the way we were seeing it. We were out taking pictures, showing those things, and providing real-time updates to kind of combat. And we called out some of these so-called news stations. We said, this is what you're showing. This is a real picture. And it kind of had to make them honest. So that's one thing. Just recently we had an oil spill in the bay that didn't affect the beaches at all, but that was the common perception. And we knew that that was the common perception because we were seeing people talk about it on Twitter. So not only just getting information out, it's a great way to keep up with what is the real perception, what are people talking about, so we know how to strategize and come back and let people know what the real story is.
That's great. How do you guys use it for crisis?
Mine's a little bit of a longer answer. For along with natural disasters. You can imagine what we're worried about: the zoos, animalscapes, someone getting hurt, things of that nature. And so I kind of developed with our PR person what I call like the 2-hour plan. Basically, it's if I'm by myself, away from our PR person, I am prepared to do everything and answer the public 2 hours. And I would encourage you guys to do this. I keep this list on my Google Drive all the time so I can access it. If anything happens anywhere, no problem. It's just like a little 5-point list, and I brought it with me. The first one is stay calm. Really easy. I'm just reminding myself, like, don't make rush decisions when you're in a crisis. The worst thing you can do is let your emotions get to you in post. You have to take a minute and remember there's a computer between you and the people that are asking questions. Like, use that distance. The second one is draft a response. Like, if you're not ready, chances are you're not ready to make an official statement yet. And people are going to be asking questions, maybe even posting pictures, which is, as you know, pretty bad. So you can buy yourself some time. For this, I would say something like, we're aware of the situation involving blank. We are currently monitoring, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Please stay on this page for an official statement. No details were given. Buys me some time. I let them know that we're monitoring it. We're already involved in the situation.
You know what's happening.
Yeah. 3 is create talking points. Chances are, once this all levels out, you're going to get asked the same questions a lot of different times. And you need to be sure your answers are consistent. And they're probably going to be asking questions to your staff. You know, they could ask questions to our zoo rangers, one of our admissions staff. So everyone needs to be on the same page. So it's important to just kind of draft some talking points, stuff you're going to be able to answer really quickly and easily. Be personal. You want to be, this is humans talking to humans. Social media is humans talking to humans. So you don't want to be, this is not the time to be robotic. You know, you want to engage people in a conversation, tell them what happened when you're ready. Explain why it happened, and just talk to them. If you can, you know, if there are personal details you can't release, tell people that. That's fine to say. Just be sure that you're, you know, engaging your community that you've built and that they've supported you for this long. They'll support you through this. You just need to be personal. And then the last one is keep an eye on the traffic. So you're going to get a lot, like on both ends, the really happy people and the people that hate you. And it is, in my opinion, it is absolutely 100% okay for someone to tell me they hate the Houston Zoo, we cost too much, the food is terrible, we have bad animals. That's fine for them to say. They have every right to post that on our page, and I won't delete it. What I will delete is stuff that is non-factual. It's very important to separate disapproval from dishonesty. And so that's kind of like my 5-step plan. We keep it on the Google Drive, so anything ever happens, I'm ready for 2 hours until I can probably get in contact with our PR guy in that time. And then we can kind of get on the same page and go through our official statement.
I like that. Dishonesty versus, what did you say?
Disapproval. Disapproval
versus dishonesty. That's really good. That's great. So how do you guys handle a crisis on your channels?
I mean, I'm kind of, you know, old school marketing also. So I do sit down and draft a response, and I mean, I also am the PR manager and spokesperson. So I try to tackle that all in one shot. And so we do that too, and it's a kind of a little bit of both of what, you know, the previous speakers said. You know, people, it is okay. Try not to take things personal. I think that would be the biggest thing. You know, when somebody's asking you questions on social media, they're curious about what's happened, or they've seen what's going on, and so they're not attacking you. Or they may not be attacking anybody. They're just, but don't take it personal. And we do the same thing when we delete. When somebody is putting something on there that's completely untrue, there's no basis on it, then I promptly delete those things. But there is no wrong. There's no, when somebody posts a negative comment on your page, you know, sometimes there's nothing. Sometimes your company can learn from it. When somebody complains about a particular thing, you can't live in this bubble where everything is all hunky-dory and everything is great all the time. That's how your business grows. You need to hear the bad things too. And we have things happen all the time with the number of people that we see through our doors. It would be quite surprising as to what happens. And we just do the best we can to communicate and manage the correct information.
See, something that we do, I'm different from you guys in that we don't delete comments unless they're extremely offensive to some population in some way, or they're spam. If someone posts something that's untrue, I take the approach that if one person thinks this, there's probably someone else in the world who thinks it, and I'd rather leave it there and let our ambassadors respond or let us respond ourselves, so that if anyone else sees that, they see the thought process and then they see the actual response. And to me, that has always worked. Right now, we're dealing with a lot of questions about, seaweed in the state of the beach. Someone's posting something, or maybe something they thought they saw or heard on the news. I leave it there and I respond with the appropriate answer, so that anyone else who comes back can see that response. And instead of just deleting every time someone says something that may not be true, now it's there and the real answers are there as well.
Yeah, there's different ways to approach it, and that's definitely a good one good way.
We have, I guess, just to add,
yeah.
we have things that are in our business, and I'm sure all businesses have, that are kind of known red flags. In the flea market industry, two of them for us are we allow the sale of dogs and animals, and the other one is the sale of counterfeit and pirated items. And normally, a lot of people will post, where do I go and get a Social Security card, or where can I go and get where can I get a fake a real looking Louis Vuitton purse or Michael Kors or anything like that, and somebody will reply inevitably, "I'll just go to Trader's Village. They have, thousands of vendors that do that." And so we have to. It's a re-education thing, and I'm telling you, there are people in this world that look for that stuff.
Where do I get a fake ID, right?
Yeah. So it's a re-education thing, and we have to do that. But we attack it head on. And then on the other end too, we also do a lot of, there are companies, Michael Kors and Nike are two of the biggest ones, that actually pursue and criminally charge not only the store owner or the vendor, but the flea market that allowed it to happen. So we actively pursue the removal of counterfeit items, and we make it very well known that we remove those people and that we persecute those people. We had some guy arrested in Dallas who had about 300 different purses and sunglasses and that kind of stuff, and he is in jail right now on bond, 300 felonies.
Wow.
Each one is a felony, and we facilitate that. So a lot of it is just education.
Yeah. Wow. That's a daily thing to come to. You have to deal with.
Yeah.
So we're kind of at 9:30. So I want to, if there's any other questions for them, I'd love to hear them now. Anybody have something they are really interested in knowing, doing? Great. So I'm going to actually bring it to an end, and I want to thank these guys very much for coming to the Social Media Breakfast Unplugged. Oh, acoustic version. And I saw that you have books, Michelle, but I didn't actually get anybody's business card, so we'll do it next time. So anyway, give them a hand. Thank them very much for coming. And I do have a couple of announcements. We are going to have second Friday in July. We are going to have an event that time. We're going to be talking a little bit about hacktivists and how to how to use community members and people that are really interested in your product to come up with amazing new things. And I'll give you more information online about that shortly. Also, we're going to be doing some other things throughout the summer. One of the things I want to do is actually in that broadcast, if you don't mind. And thank you, Google Plus audience.